Hello everyone. Just one thing. The party is 20 minutes and then we can go. Okay. Well, first of all, I would like to ask to all of you, how many of you have ever worked or know what is API scoring? Please hands up, so people who have ever used API scoring. Only one? No more? No, people from my team, no, please. Okay, so normally we go to Google and type API scoring, API scoring, and they show what is API scoring. But now we are using GPT chat, and this is the sentence that GPT chat show. Well, to be honest, I'm not very agree with the answer of the magic bot, and we are going to talk about what is the real definition about that and what we think that it's API scoring. This is the agenda. We are working on definition and the requirements, and after that we are going to see a couple of demos that the way we are using API scoring here in Inditex. Okay, so let's go. What is API scoring? As you can see here, it's a method of scoring our APIs. Well, also it's a method to evaluate different KPIs in our software. We are evaluating security. The typical one is always top 10. Also, we are taking into account the documentation, not only a README file and that's all. We need to know what the developers have in their README, and of course we need to know what is if the API has a white paper. The white paper will be the key of all of this game, and we have to be sure that we have a hard white paper to start to work on it. What we are looking with this game, we are looking for a quality of the given services, and of course we are taking account the developer experience. We need the developer get an easy way to choose the correct API, and of course ensuring the quality of this API. Here you can, here it's my JSON file. Please copy and paste and do whatever you want with this. And I'm Rafael Granados. I'm a member of the API team here in Inditex. Many of our colleagues are here. So let's go with the pre-requirements that we need before to start to play with the API scoring. What a company needs to start to play to this game. First of all, the company has to keep in mind the API first model. Of course, if the company doesn't have this model, we can continue working. So game over, that's finished, and that's it. Of course, we need to have a white paper, of course, well defined. Also, we need to get a code culture in our departments of development, of course, using Git flow, and we need also a couple of tooling for the APIs. Well, here we are going to show our API scoring package. We have three pieces. First one is the microservice, and it's built in Node.js. On the other side, we have a couple of Visual Studio extension and IntelliJ extension, or plugin in this case. We will see later how it works. And of course, we have our API command line interface to do the things that we need to do in our CI, continuous integration and continuous development. Well, this is Jonathan. This is the JSON file for him, and here you are.
Okay. Hi everyone. I'm Jonathan, as Rafa said. I'm the API product owner in Inditex, but working for GFT. And we are going to talk about the API scoring core. Rafael has done some spoilers during that presentation. We are going to talk first about the three modules that compose the API scoring. Later, we are going to talk about the algorithm, but not be scared. We are going to have time for beers because we are not going to be deeply in the mathematics. Okay, we are going to start with the design. What's the design? The focus of the design is to follow the rules that we have established on the Inditex white paper. We want the developers to follow these rules, and we are going to affect the scoring of their APIs if they are not going to do it. These rules are translated using the libraries of Spectral for GraphQL, OpenAPI and SyncAPI, and Protolin for gRPC. Here, we can see an example about how looks like an async API. Okay, talking about security, the big topic. We have to say that we are not expert in security. I think that maybe on that room we have much more expert than us, but we are going to try to do our best, and we are going to try to explain whatever the team has implemented. We are following, Rafa said before, the OWASP top 10 security rules, but we are not executing all the rules. Why? Because not all the rules are testable on the API design layer. That is where we are executing this module. Okay, the rules later are translated as before using Spectral. This is what we are going to use later to translate what we have written in a document into numbers. And finally, but not least, we have the documentation. What can I say about the documentation? I think that it's the great oversight right here. The documentation is not only readmes. We consider documentation much more than that. The documentation is also that attributes or something like the API naming that is really important. If not, we can have APIs in Spanish, Catalan, English, and a lot of languages with several things that we don't want it. These rules are translated not using Spectral like before. If not, we are using Markdown Lean. Here we can see another example that we are going to talk later more in the demos. Okay, talking about the models, now it's a moment about the algorithm. But as said, not be afraid. We are only going to do an overview. We are going to start with a configuration. Each module needs to have a weight. This weight can be its configured, and you can configure whatever you want. We have, in our case, we have the design and the documentation with the same weight, and the security a bit less. Here the important thing is the total has to be 1. Later, we have per each module. It means in each module we can have several types of rules. It means we cannot allow that all the rules have the same weight. That's why we have 3 types of rules. We have the info, the warning, and the error. And as the name can say, you can say the info it's not going to affect the score. The warning it's going to affect, but a bit less. And as you can imagine, the error it's going to affect drastically to the score. This thing it's what we have. It's the points that we are using, but as I said, it's totally configurable, depends on your needs. Before to see the example, we are going to see how we translate the scores into grades. Here it's what we have. If we have a 100, we are going to obtain an A+. Wherever, if you do the things worse, you can obtain a D. Okay, moving for the example. Imagine that we have in the company not so many rules. We have for the design 12 rules. We have 20 rules in security and 10 in the documentation. That's what we have defined in the API team. Also, I'm a developer and I have broken some rules. What can happen? Let's see. If we are in the design and I break 2 warning rules, I'm going to obtain a P. It means 83.4. However, if I'm breaking 3 warning rules and only an info, also it's going to affect, but not too much. It means 85 on that case. Whatever, if you do the same with the info, we are not going to affect to the score. You are going to obtain 100. I have to say that if I have to do the same with the error, you are going to see how quickly you are going to be in the D. Then, but that's not the total score of the API. What we have to do later is to get all these values that we have per each module and multiply per the module weight that we have defined before. Doing that formula, it's how we are getting the API score. On that case, it should be an E. Okay, now we are told about the extension. Rafa, please.
Yeah. Do you remember at the beginning of the speech, we was talking about the 3 modules that we have on our package. The first one is the microservice using the algorithm that we have seen, and here we have the extension of Visual Studio Code. This is the same in IntelliJ, and the idea is that the developers knows in design time which score have their API. Okay, so we have a little demo. Keep in mind that this API it's a gRPC, and no, this is a REST. Okay, so let's go. Here we can see that in security phase we have one issue. We don't have the max length property. It's a typical OWASP top 10, and as you can see, we have right now an A here in security module. Well, we are going to solve this issue. We're going to change max length, and then we are going to run. And here you can see that you already have an A plus. And we have solved the security bug. Now we have another issue. Here you can see we have some bugs in the description file, but we don't know what is happened. Well, maybe we know that we have the max length, but here definition must have a content email, and an object info must have a content object. Well, what we are going to do? Well, we have. Let me show. We have a quick fix for all of these rules, and if we don't know how it works or what kind of things we have to do, here you can choose the quick fix and it will be solved again. Now we have an E, and now we will have an A plus again. Okay, so that's it. The Visual Studio plugin or the extension. The intention with this is that all of the developers will be able to know what is happening with this code in design time, and now, sorry, this is the same here, and now we can see the last one member of the package is the API command line interface. Here we have the same thing, but in the command line. Here you can see the help, and here you can see the result. Here it's the gRPC. Not only work with REST, we have a lot of APIs with different protocols: async API, REST, GraphQL, and gRPC, of course. And here we don't have already done the security layer for gRPC. We are working on it, and we can see that we have in the layer phase is regarding the white paper. We have an A, and it's very good. And in the model of the documentation, we have an A plus. Okay, it's an excellent. Well, what is in summary, we have our rating. It's an A, and it's very good. Okay, now why we are doing that? We have integrated this tool with two things. The first thing is in our pull request verifies, And in the other thing, we have integrated, fully integrated with our API portal. Now we will see how it works in our API portal and how we score all of these things.
Okay, that's the moment for my product, the API portal. Okay, what we are going to see in the API portal. And well, first of all, I believe that if we are here, most of us know what's API portal. And do you know the needs about this? It's the storefront for all our developers. And I don't know if you can imagine, but now in Inditex we can have around 1,500 APIs. Then it means it's a lot, the importance about the API portal. Okay, then, but what we are going to see on that demo that we are going to show. First of all, the relevance about the API scoring whenever a developer needs to find a new API. Also, we are going to see the score in detail whenever we enter in an API detail page. And finally, we are going to show you a new thing that we have implemented recently, and it's how we can empower the API portal whenever we, as an API team, want to define a rule and the rule needs to be fixed quickly. In that case, it's a new attribute that you are going to see in a few minutes. Okay. Okay, let's see the portal. As you can see here, we have the grid, and on the right side we can see the score. And as you can see, well, here it's not seeing so good, I believe, at the end. But as you can imagine, we have order sort by the grade. It means the A+, it's always the first, and the later is the T. Okay, that's how the developers. If you want that your developers use your API, you need to try to be an A+ if you want to be at the top.
It's a kind of public shaming, right?
Okay, if we enter to one of them, let's go. Okay, we are entering. Okay, forget about now about this. And on the top, on the header, we can see also the score. We can see per each module the score, the percentage of broken rules, and if we enter to the details, we can see one, and here it is. We can see a window like the extension that Rafael shows before, and we can see per each module the same as we can see in the Visual Studio extension. We can see for the linter, the design, for the security, there are no rules broken, and finally in the documentation. Here I would like to say that, look at the end. Here we can see a line that I don't know if it can be readable, that it says that the AP type it's not defined and you should do it. Okay, that's what I say that we have empowered the API portal. Let's see how can we fix it, not only with the code, that is how a developer can do it, if not also with the API portal. Come on. It is going. Okay, here it is. Here on the header also, on the right place, we have the button to add the API type. Here it's how the POTL, if you are the product owner of this API, can select the API type, or maybe you have a wizard wherever we help you in order to do it. As soon as you submit this form, an automatic pull request is generated, and as soon as this pull request is merged, the score is modified. Okay, and now we are going to see the last slide. Next step. Oops.
Okay, as you can see, we are using our API portal. We fully integrated with our development systems, and the main idea is to share with all the community this package of tools. The idea is to do an open site or open source license, and maybe hope at the beginning of the next year you will be able to work with us if you want. Well, the other next steps, of course, it's to, as you have seen with the API type, we are going to drive to our developers just to follow the white paper, because we can do with Alarm Systems and Withers to help them to do it. Not only the developers could do from the API portal, we could do very easily. And we are thinking about to include on this algorithm performance and contract testing. Remember that the microservice is open. We have a YAML file to configure how it works, and you can add whatever you want. So this is the next steps for our product, and that's all. I don't know if you have any questions or not. So let's go to the party.
So thanks a lot. Any questions?
An open question more from Renault company. It's a kind of linter, or you automatically give a quotation of the API. For us, we do that partially, but we have, even for documentation, a lot of human check with what we call some API manager, because you can have a 5-star, or you call that A+ notation with a very bad things, very bad naming of the API. The documentation is done, but it's not in the good language. So how do you, for the security is the same, if you have all the automatic criteria but no pen test, etc. So how do you manage the automatic versus the real life quotation of the API?
Really good question, because this is a topic, and I think that someone here can reply also. It's because it's a thing that we have found during lastly, and it's about the naming, for example, that you are saying. What we have done, for example, it's try to first of all have the criteria that we want for the naming, and later we do some magic with this markdown and so on in order to do some custom things in order to say, okay, we don't want the API at the end of the naming. We want that we can check with a dictionary if all the API names, at least each word, is in English. Because if not, it's what happened. We have in Spanish, in English, at least in these two languages, and it's crazy.
So it's done after?
No, it's in the documentation module. We are doing all this stuff.
We are using linters just to transpile the white paper, all the things that we have in our white paper that is right, but from a human to all of us. We are translating this to linters, and the idea is to check each name and all of these kinds of kind of things to the right way, right?
Cool. Yeah, thanks for the talk. I have a question. Like I was saying that you have a linter related to OWASP where you have created. So is it like you have many already created linters out of the box? They are present. We just have to start using them. And basically the question is creating about linter. Is this tool supports also creating about different types of linters? And one question, and the second question is that the API, the governance enforcement comes later, but before that we have to create and design the APIs as well. So the tool also helps me graphically create this API specification and documentation also, and then the question about the enforcement of,
for the linting, we are using Spectral, and we are forcing to do what Spectral gives us. Okay, it's an out-of-the-box Spectral. And regarding the governance, it's a good question. we are betting for an automatic governance. We are not blocking anything. We are suggesting for this kind of things. We put the A plus, the first one, and the D, the last one. If you as a developer are using a D, it's up to you. But you know that we are not approved this API, so it's up to you. So the governance, as you know, there are many kinds of governance. Okay, the first one is totally manual. It's a mix. The second one, it's a mix between the automatic one and the human one. And this is the last step. It's all automatic. Okay, we are not stopping nothing. We nothing stop, but we suggest, please, developers, don't use this API because it's a D. But just another thing, if this API are going to go to internet, okay, always has to be an A+. Always. This is only for internal purpose, right? It's a good question because if not, you can use a API with a D to internet and it's a shake.